front brakes, just so you're on the same page. And granted, now that I know what I know, I could do it a little bit faster, but given all the headaches, two days is the bottom line. 2 full days just to put the front brakes on, and we have no fluid to them yet. Let's go take a look. No, your eyeballs aren't playing tricks on you. The 55 DeSoto Firedome is back in the shop. I don't want to trip over something here. And so as we get this video started, I gotta forewarn you, because we started doing this task several weeks ago, and we're gonna do brakes. We're gonna do brakes on the DeSoto, and there's gonna be some instructionals in here because they're a little different than normal drum brakes, but they're very doable. However, on these old restoration jobs, especially these DeSoto brake shoes are expensive. They're, I think, $100 a set. And in my experiences, restoring these old cars and getting these old cars back on the roads, when it comes to brakes and brake shoes, number one, you just plan on doing all the wheel cylinders and maybe a master cylinder, and for sure all the rubber hoses. Number two, when it comes to the shoes themselves, and this is just me and what I've been seeing and smelling and, you know, historicals, the shoes are either really good or they're just gone. I mean, off of the backers and nothing's left. And so we rolled the dice on the DeSoto, is the short story, and then we pulled the wheel off, and the backing material is completely off of the steel material. And so we had to order spring for the expensive brake shoes, and they've been in for a while. But then we got into county fair and trailer racing and all this other, you know, stuff, so it got pushed outside. But it started right up today, and we're gonna do brakes on this thing so we can tootle around in it. Now, the reason I'm telling you this whole, you know, digression is because there's some video. You're gonna jump back and forth because we already did some of this, and we might be rehashing it, but you're gonna see me in different, you're gonna be able to tell. Anywho, let's pull. We got her in here. I mean, we stopped right in the middle of the last brake job. We didn't even put the hubcap on. Let's start on the left front. We'll go through some of the uniqueness of these brakes compared to other drum brakes and how we deal with that. And like I said, we've already done some of this video, but I don't even know. It's in the computer in the office, and you just bear with me. We're putting brakes on the 55 DeSoto Firedome. Now, one thing about this DeSoto, it's got front brakes, like I said, are way different than even the rears. The rears are pretty conventional drum brakes. The fronts are very unique because they have 2 wheel cylinders in each drum. And so typically on your typical drum brakes, this is kind of what you're looking at. The outer circle is your backing plate, and then these black things are your brake shoes, and you'll usually have a wheel cylinder at the top, and then down here is where you get your little adjuster screw and your star wheel. And then there's usually sometimes available a plug back here so you can put your drum on and adjust out the bottoms of these shoes so they start to drag. And what you're doing is you're bringing this part of the shoe in light contact with the drum, and then when you apply the brakes up here, it's pushing out both ways, and then you're getting full contact with the shoes. It's all engineering and geometries and stuff like that. Now on the front of this DeSoto, you have a brake line coming here, you have 1 wheel cylinder here, and then a hard brake line that actually goes boop around the spindle and boop down to this guy, a 2nd wheel cylinder. And then each shoe is pinned. This shoe is pinned at the top, this shoe is pinned at the bottom. And what you're doing when you press on the brake pedal, you're pushing out here and out here. So I think the theory is that you're getting more uniform contact with your brake shoes. Now the downside to this, well, it's more complicated for one, so it goes against the keep it simple stupid principle. But the other thing is there's no star wheel. You're pinned here and you have a wheel cylinder pushing here, and there's no adjustment in that plunger. So you might say, well then, Maxine, how do you adjust these? Well, these pins are actually big bolts with kind of a half D shaped cam on them like that, so you can put a flat wrench on here and you can adjust your initial contact on each of these shoes here and here. However, that cammed bolt is only accessible from inside the drum. Once you take the drum off, you can see it just with all your other brake hardware, and I'll show you over there. So these cannot be adjusted from the outside of the assembly once the assembly is assembled. Does that make sense? Let's go show you over here. So we've got the left front drum off. And get some light on the situation. There we go. Maybe. So this is what we're talking about. Here's that cam bolt. It goes all the way through to the other side and actually bolts this shoe on here, and you got another one down here. But the back side is just the nut to tighten the cam bolt itself. You can't turn that nut and get this to adjust. And then here's our top wheel cylinder. Fluid comes in the back here on this rubber hose, and then it comes down, goes around here. Here's our bottom wheel cylinder, and we have two of the circular springs that hold the shoe on. We've got a little finger spring here, and then we just have two kind of lateral springs that pull the shoes back together. So pretty simplistic as far as the spring and the bracketries go, but more complicated when it comes to putting things together and adjusting. So like I said, how do we adjust these then? Well, I had to do a little bit of internet sleuthing. I had to look on the interwebs, and there's a tool that a couple places sell, and it looks like this. And now we'll cut to the video where we made our own little tool. But there's a little bit of a redneckier way to do it, and we're gonna build that tool now. So we have one. There's a couple different places that sell them, a couple different people. I don't know who came up with the designs in the first place, but we're gonna copy the design because it's pretty simple, and make our own and show you dudes and dudettes how you can make your own. So first step is we need a nut that'll go on this spindle, and we figured out this is a 3/4 inch fine thread, so I think it's 3/4 by 16 threads per inch. So we ran to the hardware stores and just got a regular nut. We don't want to bung up our castle nut, and this is basically the heart of this special tool that we're going to make. And in addition to this nut, we need some all thread. Now this doesn't have to be any particular size. We got this length. This guy looks like he's, is that 3/8? That's 3/8. That's 5/16. Let's use the 5/16. So we're gonna get this guy. And we're gonna go over here and grab our Sharpie. Go back to the car. I might need two hands for this. I don't know. I'm going to put that on there. And then we're going to put this on here. I'm going to set you guys down there. And we're just going to eyeball. Oops, we need the flat part there. There we go. we're just going to eyeball where our shoes are, and then we're going to give it about another inch. And the reason we're doing that is we might need to use this tool. These are 11-inch drums. We might need this for, say, 12-inch drums. So now we're going to cut this all thread, and I'll show you what's next. Okay, here's the cut end. We made sure our nut will go on there nice. We're going to take this other end now, and it's going to get ticky-tacked right onto one of the flats of our nut here. And we're not being scientific. This is absolutely not rocket science. So now we're going to come down here. We're going to check this, make sure it's kind of sort of straight. The best ever, but it ain't bad. We're going to go with it. But we're going to come back over here, take our fine thread nut, and we'll screw right onto the spindle. Somewhere where we're happy, where we can get, you know, a good turn. We're on all the threads. Life is pretty good. Then we're going to have it sit just like that. I didn't even plan that. And now we're going to measure from our threaded rod to the center of our brake shoe. And it's about 4 1/4 inches. Now we got one more piece to build. So we found this little guy sitting in the scrap metal, and we whittled it down to kind of a point. If you have an idea where we're going with this, and then we put just a little, you know, whoop-de-doo on the end. And now we're going to measure back from the end. You guessed it. Drill our hole, 5/16 hole, 4 1/4 inches back here. Lop this off. And we're just about, you know, to the point where we can just reveal the final assembled tool. Okay, here we go. Final assembly. This guy's going to go on here. We're going to stop right about there. And we're going to come over. We're going to get close. And then I even found a 5/16 winger nut. And we're going to go like so. And then we can do just a little bit of bendy bend to get us where we want. And now all the way around the circumferences of this brake assembly, both shoes, the entire 363 degrees of circumference, we can measure the gap between our shoe and our drum. We can get it here, and then we can just slide our brake drum on, and you know it's set. Although it's a little different, it really is kind of cool. Now this is done, and again, these are only $80 to $100 depending on the vendor and who's selling it and that kind of stuff. And we got more than that into it in shop time. But for the average Joe, you got about a $1.50 nut. We had this laying around. This was scrap and a couple 5/16, a little welding, and this will go in the toolbox for future uses. And it's kind of just fun to sit here, and when we put our new shoes in, we can run this around and know that the shoes are the same distance away from this center axis throughout the whole circumference of this brake assembly. And then we'll put our drum on and test fit, pull the drum back off, and get it really close so that when we put this drum on, there's just a very, very, very small amount of free play between the shoe and the drum. So that's my plans. If you know better plans, holler, tippy tap keyboard or whatever, but that's the direction we're going. Let's break this down and then we'll bring you back. Okay, so we got lucky here, kind of, sort of. This big can bolt, and you can see it up here. See how it's cammed right there? Anywho, this guy came out, the top one up here came out. This guy's frozen and rusted or whatever into, there's the backing plate, and then there's the spindle, and then there's also the spindle arm that goes to the tie rod end, and that bolt will not come out of there. It's the backside, you know, looks like this. I've been beating on it, I heated it up, but it's got to go through those 3 layers, and it just isn't coming out. And so sitting here brainstorming and trying to figure some stuff out, and I picked up this bolt just to get a lay of the land. Well, if you look real close, the other thing you see in here is there's a keeper. There's a slot right here. There's a keeper that keeps the shoe on, I believe. So we come back down to this one, and we've got that same style keeper, and it took a little bit to get it to let go. It's just one of those squeeze on type things, but we're gonna pop it off. Right, see that guy right there? And then hopefully, yeah, looky here, we don't have to take that bolt out to service our brake shoes. Isn't that handy? Now, it might become problematic when we go to adjustimate on the new ones. We'll cross that bridge or ignore it when we get to it. But yeah, well, now I smushed up the end of this cam bolt, and I got to get the shoe off now. But well, no, we're not out of trouble, because we got to get the wheel cylinder off, and it holds the wheel cylinder on. Son of a biscuit. Okay, so that was going to be a cool update, and we're still kind of failing. Okay, we're right back. Well, we got lucky again, kinda, and our hard brake line between these 2 wheel cylinders, both of these nuts came loose without trying to twist and pretzel up this little section of line or get bound up or nothing. So I wonder, I'm gonna try it just a pipe wrench. We can, if we knurl it up a little bit, we can grind it back off. Okay, update. There's the wheel cylinder. We cut it off right here. This is the dog ear of the wheel cylinder. We were able to get in there just enough with a cutoff wheel, a brand new cutoff wheel. Here's the inside of the wheel cylinder. Probably wouldn't have honed out. I ain't worried about it. But the good news, the best news is we've got this bolt turning, and yeah, we're marring the heck out of it with a pipe wrench, but we finally got a pipe wrench on it, and it is turning. So now it's just a matter of PB blaster, the patience, and the times. It's still pretty stiff, but at least it's spinning now. Oh, it's coming. We're getting it. Yeah. Woo!
One eternity later.
Pull out Derek here. There. Got her. And it wasn't even real corroded. I mean, it was stuck, but son of a biscuit. Anyway, we got her. Woo! It wasn't really that bad, you guys. It was just holding on for dear life. we'll get it over to the grind-em-a-bob and smooth out. We marred her up pretty good, but we should be able to straighten that out and make it happy again. Okay, we got our brake line off the back of here, and then here's our upper wheel cylinder, and it's nasty in there too. It's a little interesting, the anodized cups in there. Maybe these got replaced with something sometime soon. We'll have to peek into the new ones and see if they've got some sort of pretty colors in them. But yeah, let's see, time. What do we got? What do we got for time? Yeah, so roughly 3-4 hours to we got one side disassembled. Like 1/4 of the brakes are 1/2 done in about 3.5 hours. Next day alert, and if you don't mind, I'm going to pause just a couple minutes and talk about the trials and tribulations of running a restoration business while also trying to juggle your own little projects on the side. Because on this Firedome, now here's where we're at. Left front, after about 4 hours of work, wheel cylinders are loosely in there. Our bottom pin bolt that we fought so hard is ready to go back in. And before supper yesterday, I was sitting out here going, all right, I'm just gonna stay out here this evening and put a little late time hours in, and we're gonna get the fronts done. Well, as you can see, front's not done because I looked down at this little doohickey, the wheel seals. Not a big deal. I bought wheel seals for this car. I know I did. Couldn't find the wheel seals. Looked all over. Tore the shop apart. Tore all my cars that I used to run parts apart. They're nowhere. They're just not here. So instead of spending a couple late night hours, not super late night, but yeah, we drove an hour for parts for 2 wheel seals. Got them right here from the Irish in a city about an hour east of us. And here's why. Because it's Sunday. Yesterday was Saturday. Even in the early mid-afternoons when I discovered that I may not have wheel seals, even though I was certain I would find them. If I would have ordered them, Tuesday morning is the soonest I could have gotten them. Maybe Monday afternoon. Well, in the life of restoring cars and trying to find a little bit of time to work on some of your own projects, you kind of get to a spot where you chunk out a little bit of time and you're like, I've got these 2 days. And for me, it was Sunday and Monday that we were gonna get on these brakes and get this DeSoto running down the roads. So me and the wife, she was nice enough to ride along and keep me company at least, and we drove about 2 hours and 20 minutes total. Did hit a Dairy Queen, so that was good. And got the 2 seals we needed. Got home about 10:30 last night. Pretty tired, did not come back in the shop. And that's where we are at with bad lighting. And yeah, so that's the trials and tribulations of trying to do customer work and also trying to schedule in your own junk. Now, while driving and laying in bed and trying to get to sleep and everything else last night, we also made another semi-executive decision. See, we got this line opened up down here, right there, and we've got fluid in the master cylinder up here, and it's kind of hoping, even if it bled it dry overnight, that we'd get a little gravity action here. And we're not. And I think we've got some crusties in here. There was some fluid in there. We topped it off yesterday, but I think the right thing to do In fact, I know the right thing to do is we're going to take the brake line off of the master, pull the master off, clean it out real good. We've got a new brake light switch we want to install anyway, and we might even do a little bench bleeding just to see what shape it is. We did not buy one yet. I don't think we're gonna need to buy one, but before we finish up on this driver's front, let's pop this off and see if we need to get on the interwebs and order one of them. Now, what do we got? What are we doing? What do we got? Come on. Oh! We just lost a ton of brake fluid out the back end of this master cylinder. Gosh, golly darn it, anywho. Whoa, it's still coming out. All right, let's go to the bench here. Over on the welding bench, and we've already dumped accidentally twice out of here. Now maybe, is there a, oh, there's a seal right here. That's interesting. So maybe it's not just completely bad. Oh no, we've got fluid in here too. Let's dump this out. Okay, this is different. I expected to see a master cylinder just like the thousands of other master cylinders I've seen, and you know, this is why we do these videos, because I've never been through a 55 DeSoto before, and this is something new. So what we're looking at, the reason we lost brake fluid is because this is the actual cylinder. This center portion here, I wish I had somebody that could push the brake pedal, but this will come forward. There's a giant spring in this vacuum chamber, and the vacuum is sealed with a rubber seal here, but then this is sealed in fluid. Fluid is supposed to be here, because normally you'd see just a little short plunger coming out of your booster, and then there'd be a little nub in here, and you push. Well, here, that's the end of our master cylinder, and our fluid has to come out that deep in. This is our outlet. So yeah, all of our pressure is building within this bore because of the actuation of this cylinder. And then there's a little, it's like a little rubber knobby in there. Now this looks really good, and I don't think I boogered up. There's a bunch of seals here. I think we're going to clean this up as well as we can with brake cleaner, air. The inside of the reservoir doesn't look bad at all. We're just going to clean everything up and then lubricate the nubbin with brake fluid and politely put things back together and hope that, you know, it works. Okay, so we went in, cleaned out the reservoir. There's just a little bit of surface rust in there now. No real chunkies or anything like that. These seals, there's two really fat seals here and then a couple bronze bushings. The seals still feel like they're pretty pliable. So we cleaned out the bore of the master cylinder as well with a bunch of brake cleaner and a little circular nylon brush. No steel, no metal of any kind. So we're going to dab some brake fluid onto our plunger here. And take a lot. Just get her kind of covered. And then I'm also pouring a little bit into the bore of the cylinder, and we'll smear that around on those seals. We're just gonna try and nicely put this back on here. Ooh, oh boy. Doesn't want to go. There she goes. There. Okay. A little sketchy, not too bad. I'm pretty pleased so far. That would indicate to me, look, we've got pretty, here, oh yeah, this is flowing good now. See those steady drips off of the switch there? That's a good indication that we're bled out good up here. Plus, I think, and we've got nothing coming out the main line, the outlet. I think that's also an indication that at least under little to no hydraulic pressure, the seals are holding up. All right, we got our top pin bolt in. We got our bottom one, like I said, all cleaned up. Now we're gonna put a little anti-seize on this bad ride. Not a lot, but just a little bit, just to kind of, in case we got to get back in here, the next person has to get back in here. They don't quite have to fight like we did to get this apart. Now, because we took that little keeper out of here, we can just put this bolt in without too much anything else going on. Okay, that's tight enough for now. Now we take our brake shoe, slide it over that pin, slide it under that keeper, and at the same time onto there, like so. All right, we got our shoes on, and before we go test fitting our drum and hub, here's where our special tool comes into play. We're gonna thread him on there. Hear that already? Okay, so what we're looking for is an even distance between our finger here. Here, let me show you. Between our finger there and the surface of the brake shoe, all the way around, it should be the same, so those shoes are then centered within the drum. And we're good over here, nothing over here. When we come over here, right there, down here we're nice, the same, but up here we're sticking. So take a little wrench, we're going to dial this back and watch that shoe. Here, I'll come from this side. Watch that shoe kind of come in on that cam. See how that pulls it down? And we come up here, we're good all the way around. All the way around, no scratchy. So we should be able to slide that drum on there. Okie doke, we got a little lube on the spindle. Here's our drum, we got our inner bearing in, and hopefully, if things measured out right, we should be able to kind of, oh yeah, well, come on, well, oh, we're a little high, hang on, there, whoa. It ain't like on different other newer cars, there, yep, I think we're going to be okay. It's a tad tight, but it's on. Next day alerts. We're on the passenger side, and you know, I told you I'd bring you in, bad lighting alert too. I'd bring you in here if we had notables. And we do. First notable, that bottom cam bolt it'd be for the front shoe, it fought us just as bad. And it's not like they come out just covered like in rust and crud, but man, oh gravy. I mean, heat, pipe wrench, you can see we kind of dinged it up and had to make it round again, but life is going to be okay as long as you snap one of these off or break it or bend it or something. Good luck finding that oddball, but it's out. Second thing, we're doing a little interwebbing, and you know, we mentioned that the pistons in these wheel cylinders had anodizing or something on them. Well, that indicates, I learned on some forum or something I was looking at, there's like 3 different colors of pistons, and that is an indication of what style or length, more accurately, of actuator pin you have. And the reds are like a short or something. Anyway, what we did was on our new wheel cylinders, we just made sure that we had the same pins. So life is good there. They're not the same pins, but the same length. And then lastly, the third and final notable is I'm a dingus. It's staring me right in the dang eyeballs. Over here, this caught my eye on the backing plate, on the back side of the backing plate, right here. There's a bolt, and that bolt has kind of tensioner spring on it. Excuse me. Well, on the front of that is an obvious egg-shaped cam. That, what goes here, it rides on the inside of this arc, and it pushes your shoe out to adjust your brakes. So as we put a wrench on the back of this bolt and we turn, that radius, I don't know why my wrench won't stay. What the heck is going on? That radius gets bigger and pushes out on the back side of your brake shoe. So yeah, you can adjust. Now it stands, the information in the video stands that the initial adjustment has to be centered within the drum. But yeah, we're gonna have to go on the other side, and it looks like the front one, you turn the wrench clockwise or away from the spindle to expand the shoe, and the back is the opposite. You're going to go away from the spindle counterclockwise to adjust the shoe out. So that's my bad, but now you're hopefully close to 100% up to the speeds. We're going to get this side back together. We still don't have any fluid dripping down from the wheel cylinders that we left open overnight last night on the driver's side. So I do think bleeding is going to be a pain in the you-know-what. But let's get everything back together. And as we do that on this passenger side, we're going to work with these cam bolts a little bit on the backing plate. And I have a feeling life will be just a little bit simpler getting that drum and hub assembly on. It's going to be about the same, it looks like. Yeah. So, I mean, we know at least it's going to be easier to adjust going down the roads later on and stuff. But yeah, those two big cam ears didn't make much difference in the initial setup. All right, but it's good. It's right. It's just like the other side. The drag is the same. I do think it'll wear in. We're going to pull it apart. We'll get everything back together. And then we got to try and bleed just a little bit. Or should we just go to the back brakes? Let's just get the back brakes on. And then we'll start bleeding. Because I'm just tired of doing drum brake work, to be honest. Well, we're on to the rears. It's the same day at least. So, I mean, front brakes, just so you're on the same page. And granted, now that I know what I know, I could do it a little bit faster. But given all the headaches, two days is the bottom line. 2 full days just to put the front brakes on, and we have no fluid to them yet. So we're talking another at least couple hours troubleshooting and getting brake fluid down to them. But we're on to the rears. We're going to motor through this. And yeah, a little setback here as well. This drum is identical to the front drum in a lot of ways. One of those being the drum is riveted to the hub. These are rivets, right? These guys, this locator one. So that means the drum doesn't come off separate from the hub, like on a lot of newer cars. Luckily, we've got a tool for this. We got to take this center nut off of the axle, and then we have a puller. We'll pull this hub and brake drum off. The good news is I did double check on the Weber net, and the seal, it's a 2-piece axle, so you have an axle shaft that comes out, and then the hub and the brake drum attach, and I'm sure there's a keyway in there. You know the deal. But the big thing is the seal is behind or part of the backing plate. So it's not going to be a hub seal assembly where we're going to lose fluid and probably replace seals that we don't have, and we have no idea how hard they are to get. Got a cotter key here, and the cotter key looks pretty fresh, so thinking maybe somebody had been in here not too awful long ago, but long enough that we can't take it for granted. I'm sure these brakes are super shot. PB, we used a whole can of PB on front brakes too. We got just a tickle bit left. Alright, the power of Milwaukee compels you. Oh, well, that wasn't bad at all. Shoot. That's pretty dang nice right there. Alright, here's the setup. We have a big 3-jaw puller, and I believe if you go back and watch it, I'll put a linky up here, that brakes on the International C110, the rear hubs were the same kind of setup. And so we bought this puller. I didn't have one of these before that job, and it worked swimmingly. But yeah, 3 big arms, a center ring, and a ginormous bolt thingy. It gives you also get this so you can hit it with a hammer, but we're going to use the power of Milwaukee, and we should make pretty short work of this, I hope. Yeah, we're pretty well square on there. Okay, it should have popped by now. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm about to break my puller, you guys. Ah, shoot. Here, I'll show you. Right here. Got so much pressure. We're pulling, we're stretching our little C here. The Chinesian puller is putting in work. We'll try beating on the end. We'll try beating on the hub just a little bit more. Maybe if we shock it right here. Something moved there. Yep, something moved. There we got her with a pry bar. We did some damage to our shoes and our shoe retainers on the backing plate. Okay, there's a drum. I think it's still okay. We didn't damage the drum or the hub. We don't have a leaky seal. Our center pins, they gave up okay. Our little caps, we can still use those. We got our circle springs, or roundy round springs anyway, whatever you want to call them. Them are okay. Alright, I'm back. We got wheel cylinder in. Wasn't too bad, just two 5/16 bolts, 1/2 inch head. And then the brake line, we lubed it with the PB Blaster, and the brake line was happy and cooperated. We smashed these down with a hammer. They got a little pulled out when everything pulled out when we pulled the drum off, and they're going to hold the shoes in just fine. And then to attach these shoes, they're the same exact shoes as what we had on the front, but you got these two cam bolts. We recognize those guys from the front, and they're pretty well snugged up. And then we're just gonna rotate. Let's take this pin out. We don't need him in there right now. And we're just gonna rotate that shoe up. Maybe I got her too snugged up. Yeah, we're good. Rotate our shoe. Get it underneath the holder here and up like that. It's pretty much just that simple. We have our two circle springs we're going to put in, and then we'll put our one cross spring in, and that is the assembly of the rear brakes. Okay, I got it. This dang roller chair, I'm sitting on one of them roller chair creeper things, and you just can't get any leverage, so I had to get off that, sit my bum on the ground, and get some leverage against the car, and it wasn't really that bad at that point. I just being lazy, sitting on my rolly chair. I wonder if we have to use our special tool back here. We probably do. I hope it'll spin. Yeah, it'll spin on here. Okay. So, maybe just a little bit of bendy bend. Okay. See how we're touching on the bottom of that shoe, but not on the top? So let's move you. You need to come up. Just a tickle at the top now. Now we're free all the way around. And here again we're hitting on the bottom. Let's adjust this guy. Now we're hitting all the way around. And we're off of the top. We're quite a ways off over here. I'm just going to bring him in all the way and up, and we're going to match this side. Okay, so we're going to make them the same, because here we're pushing out at the top only. So we're going to do that, I think. That's going to be our first attempt at happiness. Get our drum blowed out a little bit. And let's see if we can make this fit here. Seems like it's gonna. Yeah. Okay. That was way less dramatic than the fronts. One more. Torqued. Yeah, and then we will adjust with our cam bolts back here, I think. That's my plan anyway. And we're gonna start to turn this cam. Oh, too much. Getting just a little bit of grab there. Okay, we're gonna call that happy. Come back to this back one. Oh, then we're tight again. Okay, I got a little bit. Right there. That's what we're going with. All right, so rear brakes, one side done. Way less dramatic than the fronts on a couple fronts. In a couple ways. So I'll go do the other side, give you guys a break. We're gonna crack the bleeder on this one too. We still have the bleeders on both fronts cracked. We don't have any fluid dripping through anywhere, so that's gonna be just, I'm gonna plan on fighting it to get them bled and hope for the best. Dudes and dudettes, I gotta jump in here for a minute. I'm on the other side of the desk here. You're in the office, and doing the first phase of editing on this video, and I'm at like 58 minutes. We're cutting it here. All right. Yeah, we're gonna end up with 3 parts to this out of what should have been, you know, a day or a day and a half worth of work. If you can think of a problem that could arise with a vintage car drum brake system, we probably dealt with it on this car. And it's really surprising because it's a nice, clean car otherwise. But nonetheless, this video is going to get cut here. In the next video, we're going to start with hydraulics and blockages and that kind of thing. And then we get into the rest of the system. We're not even close to being done. But we appreciate you watching this one. Hope you got something out of it. I recommend you watch the next 2 as well, because even though these DeSoto parts are a little bit unique, the problems and the issues we're having with the brake system can be applied to any of these barn find, tree row, hoopty car rescues, whatever you want to call them. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.